Alex Cora is out as Red Sox manager. The team said they mutually agreed to part ways with Cora after the league determined he coordinated an electronic sign-stealing scheme using instant replay cameras to get an unfair look at pitching signals when he was a bench coach for the Houston Astros in 2016 and 17, the latter year of which they won the World Series. And now Boston's 2018 World Series may be in question too, as the league is investigating more electronic sign-stealing accusations under Cora's leadership.
It was a sad day because we all have such respect for Alex. He admitted that what he did was wrong, but that doesn't mitigate, in our opinion, the extraordinary talent that he has, and we continue to be very fond of Alex.
For his part, Cora said yesterday that leaving was the best thing for the organization, adding he didn't want to be a distraction to the team. But as we await Major League Baseball's report on the Sox, many questions remain. Here to answer some of them are Peter Roby. Peter's former athletic director at Northeastern University. Good to see you, Peter.
Thank you, Jim.
And Alberto Vasallo, president and CEO of the newspaper El Mundo, Boston. Great to see you, too. Starting with you, does the punishment fit the alleged crime? We don't know about the Red Sox yet. Does it fit the crime?
Well, yeah, I think so. I think so because there's a history of it with the Astros, and now the suggestion that that carried over to the Red Sox. I don't think the Red Sox leadership can allow that kind of situation to continue. I think it makes it very difficult for him to lead at this point, and so I think it was the appropriate thing to do.
You wrote a piece in your paper saying heartbreaking, tragic, sad. He was a genuine hero. Did the punishment fit the crime?
That's what he and I off air were kind of discussing, right? Because if you take a look at what Belichick was accused of and just took the language, and I didn't tell you which one you were talking about, you wouldn't know which of the two. And yeah, they paid a hefty fine, they had draft picks, but Belichick is still there. And my issue isn't what's happened, because I think the Red Sox had to do what they had to do, and I think Major League Baseball is doing this. My issue is with the hypocrisy of my own beloved Boston sports fans, where they're so quick to turn on Alex Cora and say, yep, he's got to go. And I'm a big Belichick fan. You didn't hear that when
So
Spygate was
how do you explain that?
I don't know. I think maybe,
do you know and you don't want to say it? I mean,
we talked a little about it, but maybe there is an undercurrent of some racial, but I'd rather think it's probably maybe the Patriots are just more popular than the Red Sox today.
But, you know, it isn't like Cora was an unpopular manager. He was a wildly popular figure in this town. And not only, as you say in your terrific piece in your paper, not only a pretty good manager, obviously won a World Series in year one. Well, of course, we don't know how he won a World Series. That's a question,
Great communicator.
But, and also an activist. I mean, what he did for his homeland and for the people he considered his brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico was huge.
On the larger stage of life, right? I have a sign in my office that says, baseball is a game, life is a game, baseball is serious. Alex Cora in 2018 taught me that I was wrong. When he went down to Puerto Rico, before winning, he said, this is way more important than anything I can do on a baseball field.
You know, obviously the Red Sox had a troubling history with race prior to the John Henry regime, particularly way back. What does it mean to lose the first manager of color, regardless of the reason? What does that mean in the city?
No, I think it's a disappointment. You know, I've talked to a lot of Puerto Ricans in the city, and they feel
first Puerto Rican manager to win a World Series.
First
right?
Puerto Rican manager, first Latino manager for the Red Sox of color. I think it's disappointment, and to be honest, a lot of Puerto Ricans that I've talked to felt somewhat let down.
Do you think there's some disparity in treatment because of the color of Belichick's skin and the color of Cora's, or no?
No, I don't think what he's saying is about the treatment. It's about how people have reacted, and I don't put any. Well,
it is about the treatment. One's fired and one's
no. I don't put any credence into how the fans are reacting. But you know, Bob Kraft made a decision, and he's willing to live with it. The Red Sox could have decided that Cora was someone that they wanted to continue to have lead their team. But I think the fact that he was involved with the stuff at Houston before he got to the Red Sox and it continued at the Red Sox, it puts him in an untenable position. So I'm heartbroken over that because I was a big Alex Cora fan. I thought he had created a culture there that was really positive. He's a wonderful communicator, and obviously all the stuff that he did from a humanitarian situation was incredible. And to see him have to leave in this way, is really heartbreaking.
Is the reputation beyond our borders for the most successful baseball team of the century, the most successful football team in the century, going to be that they live on the cheating side of town, whether that's fair or not?
That's the risk that you run when you don't do things the right way, is that you give people reason to question whether there's validity to your championships and your success, and you never want to put yourself in that situation.
You're nodding in agreement, but is it fair that we be characterized that way? Or
look, let's be honest. If it was the Yankees and the Giants, we would be the first ones yelling at the top of our heads saying,
You're an honest man.
See. So, yeah.
You know, the major reason I wanted to talk to both of you, actually, we'll get to now. You've dealt with kids your whole life, from coaching, obviously, at Harvard and a whole bunch of other places, in the Sport and Society, the wonderful operation you ran before you were the athletic director, too. I know you've done a ton of things, including this Latino Youth Recognition Day and all that sort of thing. What do you say to a kid? I mean, despite what Charles Barkley said, these are role models for virtually every kid, whether you have athletic skills or not. What do you say to a kid when their heroes are cheaters?
Yeah, but I think it does come back to the role as a parent. You know, I have a 21-year-old daughter, and I've always told her role models should be the people around her. Her grandfather, who I'm very proud of, my father, her grandmother. So I still think it comes back to that. I'm still a firm believer that what Charles Barkley said is right. We should not be a society that has these athletes just because they're blessed with genetics to be our role models.
So, but despite that, and I hope everybody listening agrees with you, when you have the next Latino Youth Recognition Day, and one of those kids says to you, I loved Cora.
Yeah.
Cora's a cheater. That's how he got to the top, if that's what they believe. What do you say to that kid?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And in that particular case, we also bring politicians on. We bring people of other professions, because I firmly believe that athletes should not be looked up just because they're
try to help them to learn from the mistakes that others make, that they admire. Ask themselves why they think that person was in that situation. Try to give them reasons to think differently. Get them to practice what they're trying to do in terms of their values and their leadership, because you want them to learn from other people's mistakes. So he did a lot of good, and we don't want them to dismiss all that he did from a positive standpoint because he made this kind of mistake, but learn from it. Learn from it.
But you both say it so powerfully, Peter, but it seems to me it's easier said than done. This is not
of course it is. It's human nature. It's human nature.
It's the second time in recent years with the Red Sox. The Apple Watch sign-stealing thing.
Right.
We had Spygate. We had Deflategate.
So what we have to do is bring their attention to all the embarrassment that the people involved now have to live through. Yeah. And so ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth getting caught and then being deemed a cheater and embarrassing your family and embarrassing your country and embarrassing your community? Is that what you want, or do you want to play by the rules, do your best, and live with the consequences?
And you think you can get that message across successfully?
I live my life to try to do that on a daily basis.
That's why that's exactly why he's the consultant in that.
And you think you can sell that, do you?
Yeah, I believe it. I was sold on it by my parents. Why can't someone else do it?
But it is, I mean, it really is. I'm putting myself, we were talking before we got on the air, I was talking about how the Phillies, when I was a little kid, were all I thought about 24 hours a day were the Phillies. Right. I like to think my mother would have said the exact same thing to me if something horrible, a scandal had happened with the Phillies that you guys described. But it still crushes you. I mean, I can even think of the little boy that loved his team. That, you know, it's hard.
I think part of it is to help kids put things in perspective, so that they don't build people up as
before
heroes.
The fact.
Yeah, and not just after it happens, but get them to keep things in perspective.
And every time, I have a daughter, but my nephews, my boys, I have them watch that scene in A Bronx Tale where the gangsters talk about Mickey Mantle. Just if you've never seen that scene, watch it, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
It's great to see you both. You said it beautifully,
you,
Alberto. It's
Thank
great
you.
to see you, Peter. As always,
good to see you, Jim.
love talking
Thank you
about
so
gentlemen. Thank you for your time.